Welcome to Personal Mastery Training. I'm your host, Alvin Brown, former world class athlete turned entrepreneur and consultant. Join us as we learn from guests who have conquered their inner battles and share their journeys to success. Get ready for inspirational masterclasses and thought provoking strategy sessions to fuel your path to personal mastery. Let's dive in. Everybody, welcome to another episode of Personal Mastery Training, The Alliance. We're back. Today I'm on with Dr. Charlie Cartwright and Brandon Anderson. He's back. The legend, the myth.
Yeah.
Aha. All right, we're just missing one cook from the kitchen, Ray, but he'll be back next time. All right, so today, as we talk about, is the mastery, this idea of personal mastery, not mastery of someone outside of yourself. It's impossible. There's an illusion of control that we often think we have, controlling somebody else's reaction, making somebody else happy, whatever it might be. But I think the biggest thing we want to control is our territory in between our ears. So today we want to talk about on that topic. Dr. Charlie brought the main meal, and I'm going to just present it. It's this idea of smart people do dumbass things sometimes, many times. Because you can have IQ, be 200 on this scale, Mensa, super smart. But then you realize that there's another part of our brain where we do dumb things when it comes to emotions. Your EQ is super low because sometimes you spent so much time getting the brain right and studying but there's social skills that often doesn't go hand in hand. When you get someone who's high IQ and high EQ, that's a dangerous person. That's a dangerous person right there. So, and there's nothing that can bring out the EQ issue as stress, problems that we go through in our lives. And what's that wisdom that says, judge a tree by the fruit that it bears? Because, a lot of us can say we're an apple, but you squeeze us a little bit and it's lemon. You're not an apple. You just look like an apple. You think you're producing apple, but when you get squeezed, it's really a lemon juice. So let's that's where I'm gonna set the table. Then I'll let Dr. Charlie kind of set us up with the motivation for this conversation because it's pretty interesting. And then we dive right in. Here we go. Dr. Charlie Cartwright.
Awesome. Thank you. So yeah, I was relating an experience when I was in college and played at a high level, Division I college football, American football. And one of the probably two or three greatest athletes I'd ever been around was on my team. And as a freshman, we were around the dormitories, and back then there was no NIL money, so we were all broke basically. And we were in a room playing video games, I think. And I had a package of Twizzlers, package of candy, right? And I offered this teammate, this gentleman that I'm talking about, a Twizzler. And he looked at me with disdain. He was so offended. And he actually used some profanity in my direction, told me to get it away from him. And I looked and I'm like, oh, I'll eat it. And so I, ate my Twizzlers and I was trying to share. And I thought be a nice guy, but he was so offended. And this guy was built like a Greek statue, no body fat. And I thought a little bit later, okay, well, that's probably why he, has that physique because, he's very strict about what he puts into his body. But fast forward, that same player lost his chance at professional football because he had an alcohol problem and a substance abuse problem. So it's interesting. On one hand, he wouldn't eat a Twizzler, but on the other hand, he'd snort a line of cocaine.
Right.
So it was something that just hit me the other day. I never really thought about it. And it was fascinating because, high IQ about, hey, this Twizzler is bad for my body and it's going to prevent me from achieving my goals, but oh, the cocaine's not going to hurt me. That had to be some type of mental thought process in the back of his mind. And it was incorrect, obviously, but it just shows how we can be dialed in on one side of our life and then have a belief that's false, that's incorrect, that on that same within that same human being can really derail us if we're not aware of it and to get it replaced with something that is correct. So when human beings are fascinating that way, that on one hand we can be really dominant over here, but
Hmm.
then if we're not aware that we have a flaw in our thinking over here, it can undermine a lot of the good attributes we have or the great progress we've made. And so with
Hmm.
that, I'll pass the mic.
All right. So I will jump in first. Our flaw. I will jump in first and say I love this conversation because it's the thesis of my personal mastery movement, in my opinion, because I've seen very smart people, quote unquote, on on paper. They're educated, doctor. I had a doctor, he's a client of mine, and he is his wife and his daughter were psychologists, PhDs. And he said, Alvin, they're the craziest people you want to see at home. You know, the arguments they go through with each other. And I always thought it was interesting. Here they are, the ability, they have this amazing ability, very successful in what they do, amazing ability to help others. But then they get home and they're crazy as anything. Yeah, you know, so again, high IQ but low EQ. And one of the things I attribute that to is the fact that developmental wise, the old brain rules. If we go back, you know, if you, you know, someone believes in the idea of this evolutionary path of 1 million years ago, um, we go back, the rudimentary built-in system in our brain was this old brain, emotional brain, and it needed to be rudimentary because the times were very, you know, precarious. Anyone left out there in the by themselves had to defend themselves, saber-tooth tigers, all that kind of jazz. And so decision making had to come quick. We had to, you know, be in the moment. And also the lower brains built for a few things, right? Fight, to fight off an enemy, flight if you have to run, freeze if the stress is too much, we freeze. Like there's certain goats that do that, they freeze and then they fall over. And also mice, you know, they chase under stress, mice, they freeze and then they tip over. So, and this stops the prey from chasing them. So a prey, a cat doesn't chase something that doesn't run. So it's a survival mechanism. And the last one is have sex. All right. So when they do this idea of, you know, this four F's, fight, flight, food, and sex, what happens is, hey Ray is here, everybody.
What's up, guys? Nice to see
Hey,
you
how you
this
doing?
morning.
Great, man. We'll explain the conversation in a second. So yeah, when the animal gets chased and they freeze, so that's our natural predisposition. Run, fight, freeze, or have sex. So that runs, that's your baseline. Now, in my research and belief system now, over the years, we have this part of the brain, neuroscientists will say, it's called the neocortex, new brain, the new outer bark, the cortex. Looks like the tree where the rings of the tree. You can see the banana bark, and then over years and time, you cut it across section of a tree, it has bark, cortex. So now this neocortex, how many layers now? With that new neocortex comes the new brain, this new emotional brain, executive functioning, making decisions. It's a bit more, even today, you know, we've even got more development where we're a bit more empathetic and it's not as rugged times. And even going back hundreds of years ago, we were still doing things to each other that were inhumane, but everyone accepted it because, again, the brain as it developed. So here's that EQ, the emotional part of the brain, runs everything under stress, and stress can come in many forms: fatigue, tired, food, hangry, the whole thing. Under stress, this new brain, because it's fairly new, gets knocked out, and guess what we default to? The rudimentary operating system. Boom. So now you have this person with a high IQ, 200 Mensa, smart as hell, Make brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Wow. Now you're wondering, geez, they're into maybe, hiring prostitutes, they're into cocaine, they're into all kinds of things on their off time, right? When they're not in front of the stage, the camera, the exposure. Why? Because that old brain is running, which is again why it's so difficult to tell a human to practice staying away from sex for many, many years and putting them on this scope, this microscope. And then you find out later on the coach, the whoever it is doing these things, and yeah, well, human nature. We're going against human nature. And we're attempting to, uh, be celibate and all these things and put them under stress. And next thing you know, boom, the default. So I think part of this behavior is we have to find a way to master that space. And this is the difficulty. Having that high IQ, anything above 100 and, 100 and 100 plus, 120, 130 IQ, scale runs from 0 to 200, and you have that high IQ. How do you balance that with taming, taming the lower brain, the natural hunger for these things? I'll go to another quick example. And this is one I always talk about. And Ray, what we're talking about today is this idea that, in a nutshell, this will catch you up. This title will catch you up. Smart people do dumb things. That's the title. So now, here's my other example, and I'll pass it over. Boxers. I always use this example. My opponent. I got to fight in a little while. We study for. I've known this fighter for years. Maybe he's been my idol, and now got a chance to fight him. And so we study him for years. He's always been on my radar. It's time. He moves left. He drops his hand. Oh, if we do this, if we do that, we've studied everything about him. EQ, IQ, I've got him. He's totally in my mind. Now I get to the fight and we're having a face off. And he starts telling me he's gonna eat my kids. Maybe he's called my mom a name. Maybe he looks back at some of my past and he mentions them in this interview. And it hits my core. Now I'm mad. I'm mad as hell. I can't believe you said that to me. I get to the ring. I'm so pissed. I just want to get my hands on you. And he's smiling. They ring the bell. I completely forget everything that we talked about because I want to hurt him. And now I go in, the plan's out the door because now I've gone down to the lower brain and I'm angry. And he smiles and just picks me apart. Next thing you know, I learned a lesson because he got into my EQ. My IQ was very high because I watched him. I know everything you do. I know what you eat, but I don't care. I want to kill you. And he smiles and just takes me out. So, again, this is how high IQ people can do low EQ things, my opinion. So, with that, I pass the mic. I got more to share later. Brandon.
Yeah, it's awesome to see your all's faces. First of all, let me just pause there. It's definitely been a little bit on my end, a little hiatus.
Yes, all right. We welcome you
Not
back,
being
Brandon.
here, it's all in good hands, and I just add a little crumb to this table. But
Ah,
I say this to what we're talking about here. What hits me and what comes to mind is the the generational curse in some aspects is another way to look at it. Your default setting, what your surroundings, your belief, what you grew up with, your experiences, watching others, whether they were your family immediately or friends, or maybe it was somebody on TV, right? Or it was somebody you held to high regard and up on this pedestal that looked like they had everything right, but yet the, the they're doing something behind the scenes, behind closed doors, or it comes out, and the need to that inward reflection an assessment, right? To check yourself. Am I doing really what I should be? And being honest about it. You can't just say, yeah, I'm checking all the boxes, I'm eating all the right things, I'm exercising, I'm saving money. But then over here, you've got this secret little thing that you're doing that's derailing it, so to speak. And it's that dumb shit, so to say, and that eventually it might be small now, but over time, as that snowball or that train gets it going down the tracks, it's going to crash, right? And it's that mentality of, well, it's not going to happen to me, right? I'm doing all these other things so right. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing. This one little thing, this piece of Twizzler, this piece of can, and really, Twizzler ain't what it is today, what it was back then, so to speak, right? It's probably actually pretty decent for you back then compared to who knows what's in it now. And that little piece of what is that going to do to you, and but never mind, over here, and it reminds me. I mean, honestly, it reminds me of scripture to a degree too. It's don't hey, I'm pointing out that that splinter in your eye, but I got a plank in mine. Is right where I went to,
Yeah.
and I've been guilty of this in the past, and probably still guilty of it now. We should probably do some inner reflection and some some self inventory, right, on some things.
Yeah.
Because it's that do what I say, not as I do mentality that many of us, and it happens just so naturally, right? You don't even realize it in the moment because there's a whole lot of subconscious stuff going on there. And from a personal mastery standpoint, Al, as you well know, it takes a lot of work
Mm.
to truly rewire your brain
Yeah.
and your default settings, right? And that's for some, it's easy. And that's what everybody's looking for is that easy button. Well, if
Mm.
I just do this, what Al says in this program, and this change of life and this process, I'm going to be great, and that'll fix my issue. No, that's not always how it goes. It's a lot of work, and it's day in, day out,
Ooh.
minute to minute, hour to hour. For some,
Mm. Yep.
there is no easy button, and there's no one size fits all. I heard someone say the other day, and I love this. She said, there's no such thing as one size fits all. It's one fits one,
Mm-hmm.
right? You got to find that one thing for you. And with that, I'll pass the mic.
Yeah.
What you guys are what we're talking about is so true, and I love obviously the sports examples, Alvin, when you talked about the boxing, for instance. I always go down to like my son also, but one of the things I'm trying to teach him at this point right now is because I grew up in a neighborhood where I was around these dudes, just talking and doing all this stuff, So it wasn't new to me. I was I was used to it and I knew what it was, right? But I look at other people who might have been more talented than me, way more talented than me, but they never saw that in their whole life. So whenever they were faced with that, I could tell they didn't necessarily know how to react in that moment because we all talked about it. It's a pattern, right? It just interrupted their pattern and what they're used to. So what do I do now? I'm trying to rewire everything to my brain. It doesn't work at this moment, because it takes time. And same example, if I grew up being around people talking trash all the time, well, I'm used to it. It's nothing. As a kid, we had fans yelling at us, saying all kinds of crazy stuff. So it's normal. It doesn't affect you anymore. But then when you go to other situations, I'll give a great example. Um, being tough, being aggressive was a natural thing. I had parents in my corner, but they weren't very present. They had to figure it out. We just came here. So we were left on our own a lot. The other kids, in my neighborhood, they didn't have the same parents. They they could do whatever they wanted to do. So yeah, I got exposed to that. But at the same time, the moment I ended up in a structured environment for the first time in sports, I had no idea what to do. For me, it was always okay, go out there and play. make a play. But then you can be the most talented guy, but the coach needs you to be dependable. The coach needs you to study. The coach needs you to know exactly everything if you're gonna be on that field. And I sat the bench, for my first year, behind guys that I believe I was more talented than, because I that pattern I was totally not used to and totally not ready for, you know. So I totally had to shift, and through repetition, that's why I love sports, and just like anything else, and just like this meeting here that we have every Sunday, through repetition, okay, it gives you an opportunity to check yourself. It gives you an opportunity to stop the pattern, reframe the pattern. And this leads me to my next point. It creates your operating system. If we look at ourselves as a system, if over time I continually do things out of habit, I become consistent at them, then I start to believe and I start to know in my value system and everything that I'm about, hey, I'm a prepared individual. I study, I do these things because I do them consistently. And then when the time comes for me to display all of that, the work has been done, in the mind. The wires are connected, and now they're ready to do exactly what they've been prepared to do. And you're right, every single human, man, we have these little things here and there hiding in the dark, hiding in the dark. And oftentimes we don't attend to them because of fear. We neglect them, we leave them there thinking, hey, I'm good here, I'm good here. But it's so important to check ourselves. It's so important to check ourselves. And ultimately, just by doing certain things over and over again, I truly believe we can rewire our operating system. And this is really what we fall on when we are faced with those decisions in the end. So I guess that leads me to my next question, as we go back to you, Alvin. From your experience for everything that you do, what are some of the steps that someone can do to actually really rewire and strengthen that operating system?
Yeah, great summary from all, and great question. So I'm gonna start with a couple things that um y'all put together. Yeah, I love that the Bible wisdom, Brandon, about the splinter in the eye and the log in yours, and it's so true that humans we're funny, we like to, and this is probably the reason why um the Inquirer was the first kind of trash magazine and trash media. And but that thing's how old is that thing? I don't know if it's 100 years. I'm not even sure how old that media is, but it's popular. It's a Jerry Springer on paper and all that kind of thing, right? So, but it sells. They put it right by the newsstand as you're walking out, and they catch you, and catch your latest Inquirer and the buzzy and the buzz. So we love to see the carnage. We love to see somebody crash and burn because it makes us feel better about our life. Well, I'm God, I'm not like them. You know what I mean? And we often do that too in our lives. Hey, I'm not, at least I'm not like them. I'm a mess, but I'm not like them. So we look for the worst common denominator and say we're not like them. And it kind of gives us an excuse to keep going. So yeah, we always see that little splinter in someone's eye, but not the log in our own. And this is one of the reasons, Dr. Charlie kind of said this at the beginning, and I'm going to summarize it, reframe it is, I love the other wisdom that said, you can't see the frame of the picture that you're in,
Mm.
right? When you're in that picture, you can't see the frame. How are you going to see your frame? You're in it. So you cannot, this is why coaches are so important to me, and a confidant or a friend that tells you your breath stinks. You don't need a friend that pumps you up, that tells you, oh yeah, you're good, man. No, everything's good. You're really not like that guy. You need someone to tell you, hey man, grab a breath mint, man. You put your breath, it's stanky, and then they're raw with you, and then okay, cool, thanks, man. Right? So yeah, we really need that. So this is why we can't figure out our own stuff. And this is, I've spent 30 years listening to people, listening, truly listening. And this is what this drives my passion for personal mastery because I realize that I don't care who you are. Now, when people say, "Oh, I met this, I'm not that smart." I don't really care about smart. I care about wise. And wisdom doesn't cost you anything, doesn't cost a university degree. It doesn't, what it takes is you, though, what it does take, though, is you introspecting, you going through, getting from life, not getting through life. If you're doing all of that, that degree of wisdom is priceless, right? If you're getting from life, from an experience, from a challenge, priceless. You don't have to spend six figures trying to get this degree. That is only temporary. This is a permanent gift to yourself, is a mastery, that whole introspection. So that's kind of the preamble. And then you mentioned, Ray, I do things consistently. Consistency is the key. What we do, consistency, like a habit, becomes the thing that either makes us or breaks us. Because as you've seen, the metaphor is if you take one thread, a piece of thread, easy to break. If it's just one, snap, easy. Two, snap. Three, four, five, six threads together. You may be able, it's getting a little harder though to snap that thread, but you start wrapping that thing up and it becomes like a rope. Super difficult to break, super difficult to unwrap and and rewire it. It does become your operating system. And guess what? When it goes unconscious, forget about it. You're not seeing it. It's over. It's a wrap. It's now makes logical sense to you. It you know why you're doing it. You made rationalizations. It's now yours. Done. Game. So that's the thing about habits. They get formed, but the beauty is they can be unformed. They can be unformed. But here's the other part with the habit. It's your best friend, your super best friend. What are you gonna do without it once you get rid of that habit? You know, first of all, your identity is wrapped up in that habit. So people are not gonna want me or the friends I created my entire life, my marriage, my friendships, everything's created around this persona, this habit, this identity. So try getting rid of it. Strange, very strange. It just so we fight like hell to hold on to it. It's very difficult to let go of things that are familiar to us because this is you're naked out there now. Without that habit, and I show up to you guys, I'm strange, man. I don't even belong in this group anymore. You guys are gonna treat me strange. I'm gonna be ostracized from this group because that was my persona, man, the party guy. No, what? You're not the coke guy anymore, the party guy? Then geez, man, this is weird. What do you like? You're stepping out now or something? Like what's going on with you, man? Well, you're not the same guy anymore. You're changing on us. Is this what's happening now? You got high flying now? What you Hollywood guy now? Right? And you go back. So, we tempt you. The group will tempt you, poke you to get you to slide back. Because now what's happening is you changing, gonna make me wanna look at myself. I don't want to do that. I'd rather bring you back in, man, so I can keep my habit too. So, so those are the reasons what creates and keeps a habit. Now, how do we change? My next book release, nice segue, is Four Pillars of Mastery. First of all, we gotta know what we're changing. Without an awareness that you're an alcoholic, you can't tell you're an alcoholic. It's your problem, not my problem. I just need to get with a better group. If you guys just can't accept me who I am, right? So first of all, if you don't know you have a problem, you don't. And again, remember with habits, you don't know you have a problem. Can't see the frame of the picture you're in. It's a them thing, not a me thing. They just don't understand me. Right? I can quit this anytime I want, man. You don't know what I'm doing. I can quit Coke, I can quit drinking anytime I want. I just don't want to. Right? Boom, there's the excuse. So we create the excuse. So first thing is clarity. What do we want? What do you want us to solve? If you can't hit a target you can't see. Step two is the courage. The courage to change, because it does take courage. Little things are, when I talk about courage, it's amazing. The little things, quote unquote, are the things that take the most courage, right? Come on, guys. Hey, guys, let's gather up next Saturday. We're gonna jump out of a plane. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah. Hey, guys, what's your dream, man? I want to do comedy. I want to sing. Okay, let's go do that next week. No, nope, nope, nope. No thanks, brother. No thanks. But I can jump out of a plane, risk my life. Right? So saying I'm sorry, all of these things take courage, right? Admitting that I have a problem, that takes courage. So courage, then then there's commitment. There's the commitment to doing it every day. So it hurts to quit the alcohol. There's pain involved, withdrawal, chemical. So a chemical chemistry is off. Yeah, getting off the thing, that the comfort of it, the friendships, the shy, it gave me courage. Uh, Vulnerability made me more vulnerable, so I could do things I actually want to do because I'm numb. That all takes courage, right? And commitment. You have to commit to going through the pain. And finally, you mentioned it, Ray, consistency. Doing it even when you don't feel like doing it. Doing it sloppy. Doing it with errors. Not to be perfect. Just doing it, doing it, doing it over and over again. And finally, change starts to happen. But again, these things, it's amazing how we attempt to change something so powerful as a habit overnight, not realizing that we took decades, decades to create it, to tie that rope, to build that tugboat, to hold that tugboat. But now we do, a few weeks, maybe even a year of this thing. And oh man, I still, have that yearning. I still want to go back to that habit. I still want to do this thing. Yeah, because that took you 40 years, 30 years, 20 years to develop it. Why would you think it would take you 20 days, 2 weeks to lose the weight, do the whatever it is, whatever the thing is that you want, stop the addiction? I mean, recreate, rewire your brain. So, anyways, those are the kind of things I think, Ray, where it mastery takes time. It's patience, a lot of patience, a lot of vulnerability, a lot of introspection, doing the work. A lot. How many? This is not a lack of information today in where we live, this era. But you know what's missing? Lack of application of the truth that you find, right? The thing, the wisdom. There's lack of application because you can Google any AI. I can build you 10 steps to changing your life. Like, let me just Google it real quick. I can just send that. I can be a life coach today, easy. Just go into AI and create a 10-step program to help this person. But will they apply it after day 12, day 120, day month 50? No, right? So, anyways, so that's my kind of feedback and answer. I want to open the floor to you guys.
Well, there's a lot there. Charlie, you can get in. So you you were talking to Al about the change and changing yourself and changing your behavior, you're changing your habits, right? And then you just brought up AI and the internet and all and the information, the world of information that we live in today. It's a whole nother, we could do a whole talk on that. Part
Absolutely.
two, as we like to say, but uh,
Absolutely.
what comes to mind, what hit me, it's not just your habits and your, what your routine is and just your own mindset, but even the people around you. We've talked multiple times about who's sitting at your table. And Al, you
100%.
talking about individual, say, oh, you're not doing this anymore, huh? You're too good for us, or you're not hanging out.
Hmm.
Uh, but it does. I will say this. I think some of the beauty of change as an individual person, because I don't have the power to change anyone else but me.
Yeah.
And even then, I'm limited in my power to do so to a certain degree, just on my belief system. And I went through a change because I was that guy years ago that, some Coke and some bourbon and let's go and party, and was the party guy. I mean, had money, had vehicles at a young age where my friends didn't in some cases. So I was like providing for everyone. And then I started, for me personally, I had some things occur and started going to church, and then I started being accused of being a preacher, and oh, isn't Brandon a pastor now or something? Or
Mm.
is what I was finding out, all these jobs that I had that, I didn't realize I had, according to friends and rumors. But I've watched slowly over the past 25 years, and I want to emphasize the 25 years because this is not an overnight thing. It takes time for me to change. It takes time for individuals as well. But the influence, and was it my influence? Maybe not. Probably not, more than likely. But I have watched countless friends from that group that I used to run with, their lives come full circle. And a buddy of mine just gave a testimony the other day on Facebook on a reel live and just said, "Hey, I've been sober since February of 2024. I've been eating right. I've been exercising, and I've been going to church and reading my Bible, and I've been doing this and doing that." And he is so in tune and focused. His family's thriving, his children are thriving, and he admitted, he's like, it's been hard. He's had to walk away from friends. He's had to walk away from things he really, really enjoyed. Having a drink after work, that long, stressful, hot day, popping a beer and thinking, it's no big deal. It's just a beer that turns into 6 to 12, right? And the justification starts coming into play there. And it's a beautiful thing to see. I'm going to touch briefly on the information world we're in today, the access to it, the importance of a good coach, someone you trust, whether it's a friend or whatever you want, a title you want to give that person, that go to, is so critical. And maybe you have three, just pointing that out like I do, right? Blessed. And I could say I've probably got a couple of others that I'm, again, equal, just even further blessed. But one is a great start because who knows what's really real when it comes to that information we're being fed. It is, there is so much misinformation and so much fake, fake news, fake, prophecies, fake this, that, and the other of, hey, do this and you're going to be fine. These, not four, you don't need four pillars of personal mastery. You only need three, I mean, there's so much out there, and really finding someone to help, you know, dissect that and guide is really important for that mind change, right? That shift and whatnot. There's a really good book. There's a whole section in here about inner workings of the mind on page 77. I'm staring at right now. So it's, I don't know if you guys have ever seen this book, but book one.
Wow. What is that? What is that book? Wow. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I jumped straight to that page. It's like,
That's
man, I
it.
read that the other day. So I know
Yeah. That's awesome, man. That's awesome.
that I'll pass the mic.
Appreciate you.
Excellent conversation as always, fellas. And listening to Ray's question, and then Alvin's response and Brandon's response, it's clear to me that to achieve your highest goals, to achieve your best life, to become your best self, personal mastery, it's not going to be achieved by yourself, right? You need help. You need a mentor. You need or mentors. You need a coach. And everyone that's on this podcast has mentors, has coaches, right? I mean, that's a fact. So I think that's really important, that you can't achieve the right things in your life with the wrong people around you. It's impossible. It's going to be impossible. And I'm going to say something uncomfortable, but we keep it real on this podcast. And so for me, you need friends to tell you the truth, right? So as Alvin mentioned, you need someone that says, "Hey, man, you need a breath, man. Your breath stinks." So there's a mutual friend, Brandon and I have, Lisa. She's out of New Jersey, and man, this is probably 2 years ago, Brandon. She looked at me and she says, "Hey, Dad, Charlie, you know something?" And
Mm.
he knows Lisa, very direct. She says, I think you're the greatest speaker I've ever heard, but you're a terrible salesperson. It's what she said.
Mm-hmm.
You're terrible at selling yourself. And I said, no, you know, I'm thinking to myself, no, I'm not. And she's like, yes, you are. Terrible. I mean, she said it like 3 times. And I've had a couple years to ponder, and guess what? She's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what I do, right? It's not
Forte.
my gift. I have
Mhm.
a lot of gifts. I've been blessed. Selling myself's not one of them. So, hey, guess what? That opens opportunity to connect with others and get help in that space. But it's uncomfortable to say that because
Mhm.
you want to feel like, hey, I'm great at everything. No, you're not. No one is. And we have to accept that, but we need people in our lives to tell us the truth so we can course correct. But if everyone's saying, it's okay, we're never going to get in the right way and be on the way to personal mastery.
Mhm.
So, with that, I'll pass the mic.
I'll just I'll leave with this as I'm listening to you all, and I see it exactly like Brandon said. We're blessed to not have one mentor, three mentor or coaches. I have three for sure, and many more. You know, and as I'm just thinking about it, I say one of the hardest things for most of us, or maybe a lot of you all listening, is to detach from everything that the world is saying about you, okay? And don't let that drown out the noise, and not even the noise, the wisdom that you get from your tribe, your closest tribe, who knows you, who've seen you naked, who see the mask that you try to put on in certain situations, and then can call you out for it, but with the best of intentions, no agenda other than to see you shine for who you truly are deep down. You know, I love saying that we all have a heart on fire. The challenge sometimes is that we can build up a pretty good life, in our opinion, get some financial success here and there, but then start feeling dull anyways. Why is that? Why is that fire dimming? Okay, well, that fire needs fuel, and I believe that fire isn't meant to be just by itself. You know, we're meant to be together. That's when we're at our best. We need to check inventory, as Brandon always says. Also, I keep that for me in making sure we do have the right tribe around us. But yeah, it's detaching from the world, being an original, and understanding there's no self-made stories. There's a part of it, definitely, we have to walk alone every single day, but on our path, we do have those people. We do have, whether they're physically here with you, virtually, or they're in a book, they are out there. They are out there. And I'll also leave with this. Um, let's never forget the power of questions. Okay. Questions. Because again, asking the right questions opens up the door for introspection. We don't ask ourselves enough questions. Okay, we really don't. And I find that when we get in the habit of asking the right questions, we find out a lot more. you know I can be annoyed for a full week, but I never ask myself the question of why. But when I do, hey, I figure it out. you know or good example, let's say with my wife also, and it's funny that you guys talked about AI, because man, I I'm on vacation right now, and the first week of my vacation, I figure out, hey, I'm giving that to the kids. So all day, every day, I'm with the kids. But that drains the gas tank, it drains the
Mhm.
gas tank. So by the end of the day, hey, I'm tired. My temper is thin, my temper is thin. And then I realized, hey, for a couple of days around 6 p.m., I'm kind of like this. So I asked ChatGPT. I kind of told ChatGPT the question. I asked him, and he responded with questions. Then I took one of those questions I really liked. I went to my wife, and she said, "Hey, what do you need from me right now? What is it that you need from me?" And she said, "More love." So I'm like, "Oh, okay. So that's really it. It's love first."
Mm.
But the power of questions, is so important. And our great friends and our tribe and our coach, they tend to really look at us, listen intentionally, and ask us the right questions. And this is what changes everything. And with that, I'll pass the mic.
All right, I love it. I love it. So as we come to wrap, the summary here is a great conversation about, and by the way, we all do this. There's no judgment about um, smart people doing dumb things. Every human has a certain level of wisdom in some area. However, if we don't work on taming the, I can't underestimate or overestimate the power of your operating system, the power of it, and what we feed it. I mean, look at people and their belief systems all over the world. Everybody has a religion. Everybody has a belief system, whatever that religion is, that causes some people to want to execute a whole other religion to serve the God that everyone is saying is this God of loving nature and it's this heavenly and this, oh, rapture. But then I want you dead on another level. I want you out of excommunication. Just get rid of, and they've convinced people to put people in chambers and to do, and they believe it that they're subhuman. Once you convince somebody that that person's subhuman, let's get rid of, like, it's so that's the power of the subconscious. That's how you can people. Let's talk about Jim Jones. Take someone down to the Guyana, and they're drinking Kool-Aid. They're feeding it to their kids, and they're so. This is the power we're dealing with. Unbelievably powerful, unbelievably powerful. Which is why this lends to the idea that it takes work. Do not expect mastery. It's called personal mastery training. The one thing about when a doctor graduates and they get their license to practice, they forgot that it's a practice. And the problem is they become stuck on attempting to be an expert and they forget to practice forever. When you get that license, it's a forever practice until you close the doors and retire. You should always be in practice. And so training is the same thing. You're always in training. You should always be in training. That was my advice. And I'm humble. If you talk to me, I don't, on here, I give advice from my experience, but I'm also open to learning. So, all right. So Brandon has to step out. Much love. We love having you back, brother. I got the hearts working here. Look at that.
Nice to see you,
The
Brandon.
magic. Yes, sir. So our
Thank
brother is off.
you.
Love you guys.
Love you guys. Love
Cheers,
you too,
brother.
brother. All right. Um, Brandon, before you go, what's your one word before you go? Just get that in there before what word would you pick that you're gonna go on this week?
Commitment.
Commit. Ooh. All right. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
That's it. Love it.
Love you guys.
Love you guys. Love you too, brother. Yeah. So to finish off, then be humble. There's no judgment. I think humility, yeah, is the thing. Realize that at any time we're one decision away from screwing up our lives. One. And it's can you control that one decision each moment? So it's not nothing monumental. It's literally one decision each moment. That's how close we are to either making or breaking. So with that, we'll close it up. I'll go around and then ask also the other cooks in this kitchen, this cooking soul food, I'm gonna ask them, what's your one word? What are you leaving with this week to kind of anchor down this week?
For me, the word is help.
Mm,
People want to help you. Let them. They can't help you if you won't let them,
hmm
right? So that's my word, help.
Beautiful. Ray Ray.
You said it in some shape or form. You said humility. I'll go
hmm
with vulnerability because if I ask for help, but I'm not showing everything, I'm not ready to really open up. I can't get the full extent of the help I can get. So,
hmm
yeah, it'd be get naked out there,
Yeah.
as much as you can.
Yeah.
I'll go with
Beautiful.
this.
Love it. And I'll finish off with this along that line. Forgiveness.
Mm,
Forgiveness. Forgive yourself, number one, of things you have put shame and guilt on. Oh, I didn't do this. I'm not good enough. This, that, whatever. Forgiveness. Because I think that's the only way you can start to heal
yeah.
is if you forgive. Forgive yourself, number one. You can't. And even the person you are holding something for, remember they say it's like drinking poison, wishing someone else would die. Just forgive. Forgiveness doesn't mean you forget. It just means you've freed yourself. Actually, forgiveness is really a very selfish thing. Because if I forgive you for the thing you did, then I'm also forgiving myself and let myself go. So forgiveness. All right. That is it. Why why smart people do dumbass things. That's kind of the start of it. There's many more, but that gets us started. That get your journal out. Elaborate on that if you're a true student of mastery. Elaborate on that. Disagree, agree. Like, subscribe, and share too, by the way, so you can start a conversation with someone about this topic. And you can call us whatever you want in private and argue and say they were right or wrong, but just get a conversation going at least. All right, that's it. Until next time, everyone, we wish you peace, a whole lot of peace today, a lot of love. Come on, the word needs more of it, and a little bit of sprinkle of soul right in there to tie it all together. All right, until next time, peace and love, everybody. We're out.